What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome back to another video here on Pig City Hockey. It's been a while since we've talked Jets, so welcome back. I just needed to take a step back and enjoy the game, honestly. I was just I think the channel was getting to a point where it just felt like, too much of a commitment, and this has always been something that's really fun for me, and just with my work schedule and whatnot, I was just so tired trying to get these videos out, so I just was like, you know what, let's take a break and enjoy this Jets team, and enjoy this season, and not worry about making a video, and just enjoy these last couple of, weeks of Jets hockey, and it's been honestly pretty good. There's been a couple stinkers in there, but this Jets team showing resilience through injury, continuing to do what they've done all year long, honestly, and play some pretty damn good hockey. And I'm, with the playoffs are right around the corner, I'm going to be there for the first round for game 1 and 2. I am super excited. It's just that time of year again, the energy. The NHL playoff hockey is the best playoff hockey, best playoff in the world, I think, honestly. It's up there. It's better than the NBA. It's better than the NFL. It's just the best. The first round of hockey is some of the best sport on the planet. The competitive level is at the highest you'll see outside of probably the Olympics. It's just a crazy energy. And with that right around the corner, how could you not be excited about it? And that's all I'm focusing on right now. And it's crazy that, with the fact that the Jets have already clinched, the fact that they've had over 52, they've got 52 wins already, and they're going on to chase for more. There's still time left, and they're still battling for first in the Central, which is the crazy thing. Like, you think after all of the success that the Jets have had, the dominance that they've had all year long, you think that they would be, probably at least hopefully clinching onto that division at this point, but Dallas is just fighting with everything they have left, and they've really turned it on. But they've won like 10 games in a row, 11 games in a row. They've been absolutely insane. So this game that the Jets played last night against Vegas was huge. They needed to win this game, especially because Dallas had beaten Nashville, and that we desperately needed Nashville to win that game. But at the same time, the Jets came out clutch. They still have that 4-point lead, but it is close. Like, the Jets have to keep winning hockey games, because if Dallas keeps winning them right now, the streak they're on, it's pretty tight. Like, obviously the Jets definitely have the number, and they still have the better odds, but it's crazy, like I said, to think how tight the standings are. So this game really meant a lot, and I think, when you looked at this lineup, there were a lot of people that were, rolling their eyes and, getting a little concerned. Eric Comrie was starting a must-win game. You had a guy like James Anderson-Dolan making his debut for this season. Logan Stanley was back in there. People were not very confident in the lineup, but I don't know. There's just something about this lineup where I felt like, the Jets were going to play with some tenacity. And that's exactly what they did tonight. Like, Eric Comrie was fantastic. He had a great game. Pitch the Bagel was fantastic. One of his best performances of the season, honestly, and he had a lot of them when you really think of it. Like, he's been pretty damn good, even though the results aren't there for him this year. Really been impressed with what Eric Comrie's done, and this is exactly what I wanted to see from this team. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the Jets. I said going into this stretch, I wanted to see guys get an opportunity. Give the depth guys that have, really worked hard this year an opportunity, because I think they've got a lot to offer. Colin Miller, a depth defenseman, getting some power play opportunity and scoring a huge goal tonight. And that's the exact type of thing you want to see. And I think that, the Comrie shutout as well is huge for the morale of this team right now. And I think it's going to be really important going down the stretch, because, when you look at these next couple of games, Utah, St. Louis, the Stars, that's a huge game. And then, the Blackhawks and the Oilers, and then to finish it off with the Ducks. I'm going to be at that game against the Ducks as well. Super excited for that. It's nonetheless, though, I think that when you look at that set schedule, like, and where the fact you only have a 4-point lead on Dallas, and you play Dallas as well in that stretch, like, these games are really important. So to come out and win this game off of the depth is huge. And Nikolai Ehlers, thank God he's okay. He blocked what, took huge 2 shots today in the game, got injured. It did not look good, but Arneal said that he's lucky, nothing happened. He should be good to go. So we're very happy, very lucky with that, because with Velarde already being out until playoff time, if we had lost Ehlers this close to playoffs and in this important of a race as well, like, we need to win the Central, because I don't want to play Colorado in the first round. Not again. I want the Jets to finally get this division title. They've been chasing it for a while, and with Velarde out, with Pionk out as well on the back end, like, they cannot afford another injury. So the fact that you were able to, escape, luckily, from an injury tonight from Nikolai Ehlers is all that matters. And, shifting away from Ehlers Ehlers, who's also been fantastic, I want to talk about his line mate, who I think has really stepped up in the absence of Gabriel Velarde. And we're going to be talking about him in a video on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. But, Cole Perfetti has just been fantastic. Like, he's really emerged this year as a guy that, the Jets can rely on down the stretch, and he's been really important for this club, and especially for the top six. And he's really been important, I think, for Ehlers' game as well. Ehlers and Perfetti have such good chemistry, and we've really seen that this year. And, his game has just been incredible. He's on a 3-game goal streak right now. I know it was an empty netter tonight, but it's the fact that he's still on that 3-game heater. That's exactly what you would need from a guy like Perfetti when Velarde goes out. And Perfetti's delivering, in my opinion. He's playing great hockey, and it's exactly what this team needs at the right time. Like, Perfetti is doing everything you want your second line guy to do in the absence of injury. He's stepping up in every way that matters, scoring big goals, making those big plays, and he's winning the Jets hockey games, plain and simple as that. And even in a game against the Kings where the Jets really just didn't show up the way they wanted to, Perfetti still had a pretty damn good game and was definitely one of the better forwards out there consistently throughout the night, in my opinion. And it just goes again on how good of a player and consistently good of a player he's been for this club this year. And down the stretch, we've really relied on him. And it's crazy to think that at this time last year, Cole Perfetti wasn't even in the Jets lineup. He was a healthy scratch because Rick Bowness didn't think he had value to this club's lineup because he had a bad, 20-game, 30-game stretch there. But, so has Mason Appleton. So has even, Niederreiter this year at times. Like, I don't think you take those guys out of the lineup nonetheless. But I digress. The point being, though, the Jets are, clicking on all cylinders when they need to. And yeah, they've had a couple stinkers in there. Yeah, they've had some moments where they've, shown some weakness. I think that, the Jets, when you look at those games, a lot of them are like, oh, that this is, not a good sign, blah, blah, blah. I think that it's not necessarily as deep as other people are making it out to be, honestly. Like, when you look at the game against the Canucks, right? Like, you look at the 3-game win streak and then a bad game against the Kings. The Jets, and the Kings are also, let's be real, the Kings played their game perfectly against the Jets, and they earned that win. Like, they were a very good team, and they played their game perfectly. The Jets couldn't, beat them at their own game, and they ended up winning that hockey game. Like, it's not necessarily like the Jets, absolutely played a terrible hockey game. They just got, outworked by a team that prepared for this match, went in, and they played their game perfectly. So sometimes that happens in hockey. You just get beat by a team, that's better prepared, and it happens. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad and that you're playing a bad game. And I think that when you look at the lineup with the injuries the Jets have, and the fact that their lineup has been a little inconsistent at times the last couple of weeks, I think that shows as well that, they're still trying to figure out, what to do going forward. You've seen a guy like David Gustafsson come in recently and score some clutch goals. Kupari was in as well. Like, you're seeing guys get shuffled in. Dolan tonight. Like, so I think that, going down the stretch, we're starting to see what I talked about a couple of weeks ago. We're starting to see RDL promote some of these other guys and, trying to figure some stuff out, find some other type of chemistry in case of injuries come playoff time, and, really trying to show a testament to what this team's depth really can do. And it's honestly been pretty incredible when you think about it. Like, obviously, Mason Appleton's had some cold stretches, Niederreiter's had some cold stretches this year, but when you really look at the depth and the games, the roles that they play on this team, not necessarily putting up goals and assists, but the roles that they play that go into getting the Jets wins consistently, they've done their roles perfectly. They've mastered their identity as a line and as a unit and as an individual, when they have to come in, even if they don't, play 10 games, 15 games before they get in again. They know their role and they play it to the best they can, and they do it for their team. The buy-in, the commitment, and the loyalty in this room, you can really see it this year, and you can see the culture that has been created from Rick Bowness that O'Neill inherited, and that Lowry has really driven home, I think, since he got the captaincy as well. And I just think that it's a perfect storm of things mixing. Now, I know we've talked about that before, but I really think when you look at these Jets games, you look at this battle that they're in, they're not slowing down. Like, yeah, they've had a couple bad games in there, but at the same time, they're still playing really damn good hockey. Like, we can say that, oh yeah, the Jets have had, a couple bad games in there against Buffalo and against the Kings, but when you go back and you look at the Jets, last few games, they're not a bad team whatsoever, and they're still playing pretty damn good hockey. So at the end of the day, I just don't think that, that we should be panicking just yet. I think that the Jets are playing damn good hockey. We saw that in the Vegas game where everything clicked. The depth showed up. You had a great game goal from Scheifele. Eric Comrie was fantastic. Depth everywhere, and everyone playing their role well. and it's exactly what you need to see from a club that is fighting to win their first division in franchise history. Like, let's not be frank about it. Like, this is a big year for this club. This is the best year this club's had in its history, and they're chasing a division banner, and that's something that this franchise has never had. And I know that this team is hungry. I know that the players want it. And like I said, when you look at the Jets' last 10 games, they're 7-3. Now, obviously, the Stars are 8-2, so that is huge. But with a 7-game win streak, so that's huge, obviously. But the Jets have still played pretty damn good hockey in that stretch as well. So let's not act like the Jets are tanking because they've had a couple bad games in there. They're still holding their own. They've got some injury problems with key guys out that they're going to be getting back soon. And like I said, with this schedule coming up, it's going to be a real testament to what this team can do. I think that last year we had kind of false hope and a false identity of this team because they were going into the playoffs so hot on that 7-game win streak or whatever it was. So this year with the schedule, Utah is going to be a tough matchup. Blues are going to be a tough matchup. The Stars are going to be a tough matchup. These next 3 games are going to be tight. The Blackhawks game, whatever. The Oilers will definitely play the Jets tight. And then the Ducks, who knows at that point what the standings will look like, if that game will even really matter. Probably won't. But these next 3 games are going to be huge for the Jets and are going to be a real, test to what this team can accomplish in the pressure, because this is a great preview for a playoffs. It's still important. You got a lot on the line, winning the division. Let's see him do it. I got faith, and I know that you do too. Go Jets, go! Subscribe if you're new. This is a crazy, amazing season to be a Jets fan, and I cannot wait for the playoffs. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe if you're new. Stay tuned. Turn on notifications if you haven't already. Lots of stuff is going to be coming. Go Jets, go! And I will see you on the next one very, very soon. It'll all be over.